Thank you to the MC, Dr. Sharifah and Mr. Eddie. I think they deserve a round of applause as well. YAB Dato Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid bin Hamidi, Deputy Prime Minister of Malaysia, Minister of Rural and Regional Development, and of course the Chairman of National TVET Council. He is one of the biggest champion of TVET in this country. Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister, for your attendance. Yang berbahagia Dato Azman bin Haji Muhammad, my colleague, Secretary General of the Human Resources Ministry. Yang berbahagia Dato Abu Hurairah bin Abu Yazid, Chairman, the Board of Directors, Human Resource Development Corporation, HRD Corp. Yang berusaha Dr. Said Awi bin Muhammad Sultan, Chief Executive of HRD Corp. This is his first month as the Chief Executive, and I believe this is his first major event in HRD Corp. Congratulations for the success. Yang berusaha Encik Muhammad Fatullah bin Mustafa, Chief Executive of Skills Development Fund Corporation Malaysia, PTPK, Dr. Ronnie Ambrose, Chief Strategy Officer of HRD Corp and the Organizing Chairman of ASEAN Year of Skill 2025, representative from the SUMA, the ministries, departments, state and the federal government, representative from the ASEAN Secretariat, the International Labour Organization, friends from ASEAN member states, members of the media, saudara-saudari yang saya kasihi sekalian. Salam sejahtera, salam Malaysia Madani, salam pekerja ke semua bangsa. Nak tabur budi, bakti dibenam. Nak hitung jasa, bilangkan ihsan. Nak makmur tanah, bercucuk tanam. Nak untung nusa, mahirkan insan. That's a Malay poem, we call it pantun, and for the sake of our friends from outside of Malaysia, I've translated. That is the original pantun, by the way, DPM. But for the sake of our friends from outside of Malaysia, I've also translated it to English so that you too can appreciate the beauty of the message in that short verses conveyed in our national language, Bahasa Melayu. To sow kindness buried deep in the earth, to count blessings, tally each favor's worth, to prosper the land, plant seeds with care, to benefit the nation, nurture minds with flair. When I arrived, the DPM said he's overdressed. I said, no, I am underdressed. Because I've always insisted that I am a minister for the worker, so therefore I must reflect our biggest stakeholders, which are the 17 million workers in Malaysia. Well, my dear friends, last week, about a week ago, OpenAI, you're familiar with OpenAI, they run ChatGPT, and they launched the 5th version of ChatGPT 5.0. And compared to the previous model, I was curious, what is the difference between ChatGPT 5.0 versus ChatGPT 4.0? So I went to read the technical specs, but the dummy version, right? The dummy version. And to put it or to distill it in one single sentence, ChatGPT is said to have, ChatGPT 4.0 is said to have the capability of a college student, right, or a university student. So they can have a research capacity of a university or a college student. But ChatGPT 5.0 will have the capacity of a PhD expert. That is the different in one liner, right? Of course, this confirmed our suspicion for the past year when generative AI, agentic AI came on board. AI replaces conventional academic trained personnel. That was our suspicion all the while. AI now can write codes, can produce high-level researches and designs, can solve complicated mathematics, generate speeches. This is not generated by AI, by the way. And of course, also generate other expert statements. AI can read radically faster and analyze quicker than any PhD students. And this will definitely, in my view, dent the signaling value of an academic degree in the future. In an age where AI can do the thinking, the world still needs those who can build, can repair, operate, communicate, supervise, and organize. These are the human and social elements requiring skills, competency, and trust, human trust, and elements which will outlast the hype cycles of technology. In other words, skills training, or TVET, right, is the currency of our time. I've always said, my dear friends, that ASEAN needs to have a more collaborative approach towards the 21st century economy. We are talking about AI, digitalization, the green agenda. Competition between friends and neighbors need not be zero-sum. Otherwise, we'll be all racing to the bottom, where competition is to see who is cheaper in ASEAN. No, I believe we can partner together to increase the value of our respective national economy, tackle global problems together, build local competency, and drive green growth in this region. And this was indeed the spirit of Kuala Lumpur 2045, when our leaders met about 3 months ago here in Kuala Lumpur to renew the ASEAN commitment. Commitment not only to work together, but also to work together closely and deeply, as well as for the long term, looking at least into 20 years in the future. But what is the shape of this ASEAN collaboration, you may ask? Just take, for example, the EV industry, right? EV industry. We can collaborate and win together instead of engaging in a price war. I call this the Airbus approach. In the 1960s and the 1970s, European countries came together and asked themselves, how do we collaborate to build an aircraft industry to compete with the Americans? And they did it, and we've seen Airbus today. We should leverage on our core competencies, for example, to develop an ASEAN EV industry, rather than allowing investors to push us to a competition to the bottom, to throw price and to see who is the cheapest. And we have done it, my dear friends, with the ASEAN Standards for Green Financing, the ASEAN Power Grid, ASEAN Digital Economy Framework Agreement, etc. And we've done it more recently with real-time cross-border payment via the ASEAN e-payment integration. There is no stopping us from doing the same, collaborating in our EV industry, in our chip sectors, for our green economy, and even for our skills training sector. But what can we do vis-a-vis skills training and TVET? First, ASEAN should be a platform to share our experiences in skills training. The different stages of our industrializations and the different sectors of which each of us has our respective competitive advantages will enable us to complement one another. Take, for example, Malaysia. We have more than half a century of experience when it comes to high-tech semiconductor manufacturing. Today, we are 7% of global semiconductor trade and 13% of global semiconductor back-end manufacturing. As our economy catches up to an even higher growth and higher value model, we aspire to be a world-class skills training center to ensure our human capital is ready to embrace a higher value job market. The Malaysian unique national experience will surely be useful to fellow member states who are perhaps exploring a similar path, and Malaysia too can benefit from our neighbors. Secondly, to fully realize the potential of ASEAN, we must move towards a long overdue higher synergy in a common certification framework. If skills are the currency of Industrial Revolution 4.0, IR 4.0, then in order for a greater advancement of the ASEAN skills market, we must work hard towards mutual recognition. Perhaps it is time for an ASEAN skills clearinghouse, a regional standard authority to enable transborder recognition of national skills standard. The low-hanging fruit, because the Deputy Prime Minister reminded me, is to strengthen the existing ASEAN TVET Council to do more. Here in Malaysia, we are in the process of amending our skills development legislation to recognize higher TVET qualifications beyond the current ceiling of an advanced diploma in TVET. This will include consultant and expert level skill certification, and this certification will definitely fulfill any stringent regional or even global standards. There is no reason why these experts here in Malaysia cannot move freely to contribute their knowledge and skills within the region. Thirdly, we must put our money where our mouth is to invest in skills education. The Malaysian government spends about 10 billion ringgit, around the region of $2.4 billion a year on TVET and skills education. If this is an average across ASEAN, then we are looking at about 100 billion ringgit or 24 billion US dollar annual government outlay just for TVET and skills training alone. I'm not counting the conventional academic or education funding. Yes, each member states have our own strength and core competencies, and also our national interests, right? But what is stopping us from developing a deeper collaboration to amplify our resources through pulling them together? 2 months ago, in line with this spirit of sharing resources, and also in conjunction with the ASEAN Years of Skills 2025, Malaysia opened up our National Training Week for the first time to citizens of ASEAN beyond our borders, with a record-breaking number of participants at 3.5 million people all over ASEAN, 10 times the number of participants last year. Malaysia offered over 72,000 free skills training courses valued at 400 million ringgit to Malaysian citizens and fellow citizens of ASEAN. This is a demonstration of Malaysia's commitment to upskill ourselves and to collaborate with our neighbors to upskill our region. And finally, beyond public resources, member states should also facilitate private investments in the area of TVET and skills training. Under the ASEAN Years of Skills, Malaysia recently hosted the ASEAN Human Capital Development Investment Symposium and the ASEAN Training Market Conference, precisely to allow regional policymakers and private market players to explore opportunities to grow private investments in the training sector within the ASEAN market. My dear friend, Malaysia aspires for ASEAN to be one of the most skilled regions in the world. Think about it. Imagine a labor market of a middle to highly skilled workforce within a population of about 700 million people. This is a workforce which shares culture, history, tradition, language, and even food. In other words, the process of integration for economic collaboration, despite we too having our own challenges, is so much easier. As we meet in this ASEAN TVET Conference 2025, I hope decision makers, trainers, industry players alike will reflect on this vision. When some of the world is finding it more difficult to come together and collaborate, ASEAN must firmly maintain our long and deep-seated friendship. When countries are made to choose sides, we must be committed to our centrality. When geoeconomics is unstable and unpredictable, we must maintain that flexibility so characteristic of our Asian value, but at the same time be committed to continuous and aggressive discipline of building the future now. Malaysia is ready. Our TVET development is led none other by the Deputy Prime Minister himself. I hope all of us can continue to work together to build this shared ASEAN vision. Thank you and congratulations to the organizer. May you have a fruitful conference. Thank you very much. Sekian, terima kasih. Maramin, selamat.
Thank you.